Hello and welcome to the Daily Fabric Fondle here at Cottonweed's Quilt Shop in Freeport, Maine. Today we're going to see what Lori is doing. I'm going to be doing some hand embroidery today. Hand embroidery can jazz up a project. Here are some examples of some of our embroidery projects here at the shop at Cottonweed's. These are beautiful. It's a way to add a little something to a project. So instead of just a plain table topper, we've got some designs in the middle. Hand embroidery, or any hand sewing, is great for many reasons. It is portable. You can bring it anywhere. Say you have to sit at a 6-hour swim meet, of which your daughter only swims about 4 minutes and 26 seconds of. So you've got a lot of time to kill. Hand sewing is great to bring along. Hand sewing is practical. You should know how to thread and knot a needle and put a button on or stitch up a hole in something. And hand sewing is personal. You can personalize a lot of different projects with just some simple embroidery. Today I'll be showing you how to do the backstitch, which is one of the most popular embroidery stitches and also one of the quickest to learn. I mentioned how hand sewing is great for personalizing things, and here are some examples. I made a pin cushion and I used a filling embroidery stitch to make an L for Lori. When we were teaching the kids after school sewing classes, they had started making bean bags, and they used some embroidery to personalize the front of their bean bags. So this is what the children stitched. I think they did pretty good. Look at that E. And here's a B. And this is almost finished, this bean bag. And another B. So you can personalize anything. Napkins, placemats, any project. A pocket on a tote bag. Oh, speaking of which, here's a project I made for grandparents several years ago. I made a tote bag and I took one of my daughter's drawings and traced it onto the pocket and then embroidered over the drawing. And I just used a backstitch. A great way to personalize a gift for someone. Let's talk a little bit about the materials you would need for some hand embroidery. Fabric, you can really use any fabric, but cotton linen blend is a great embroidery fabric to use if you are just practicing or starting from scratch a project that doesn't have any specific fabric already being used. That's a cotton linen blend. It comes in a few different colors. Thread, we use pearl cotton. That's our choice of thread when we hand embroider. There's Valdani, which is hand dyed, as you can see. We've got lots of different colors. And we also have DMC pearl cotton here at the shop. Again, lots of different colors. And it is not, let's get a strand here. So it's not like embroidery floss. It doesn't separate. It's just one strand of cotton, as you can see here. And they come in different weights. We like to use, it's the DMC 8 and the Valdani 12, which are actually similar weights. And it's one strand. And then you need some needles. We like using Mary Arden chenille needles for hand embroidery. Has a nice big eye and a pretty sharp point. This book, The Geometry of Hand Sewing, is a great resource for learning hand embroidery. The pictures are great, the instructions are great, and the best thing is it comes with some plastic templates that help you to space your stitches out when you're first learning your stitches, or even after you've learned stitches. I don't know if you can see, there's little dots on the templates, and you can use a pen. We'll show you on our example of our backstitch how to use these templates to make dots along your outline, and it helps to keep your stitch length consistent, which is nice especially when you're first learning a stitch, because you don't have to focus so much on the length. It's already done for you. You can just focus on how to form the stitch, which is great. So I highly recommend this book. We do carry it here at the shop. Let's start sewing. Now I'm ready to embroider. I've got some scissors. I've got my chenille needle. I've got a friction pen to make the design, which I've done an F for fabric fondle, and I'm using the cotton linen blend. I do not use an embroidery hoop when I embroider, and I don't use interfacing on the back, but those are both options that you can explore. You have a looser, floppier piece of fabric that you want to give a little heft to while you're embroidering. That's a great idea to put some interfacing on the back, but I find the cotton linen blend is sturdy enough that I don't need the interfacing. So let's start by showing you how to make a quilter's knot. So here's how I thread my needle. This is called the quilter's knot. I've got in my left hand the end of the thread, and in my right hand the threaded needle. And the pointy part is pointing towards the ceiling. And we've made a smile in the middle. See with the thread? We're smiling because we're happy that we're sewing. We're going to take the end of the thread here in my left hand and put it behind the needle. So now we have a loop. You're going to take just this top part of the loop here and wrap it around the needle 3 times. So I've wrapped the thread around the needle 3 times, and now I've got thread on my needle that I'm going to pinch with my forefinger and thumb. I'm going to keep that thread pinched, and as I'm pinching, I'm going to pull the needle. I'm still pinching all that gathered thread, and I'm pulling the needle. I'm pulling, 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 and under these fingers is now a knot. Yay! All right, let's go back to our fabric. So here we are, we're ready to start our hand embroidery. We've got our F for fabric fondle. We've got scissors, our threaded needle, and we've got these super fun templates that are going to space out my stitches for me. All I have to do is lay the template on top of my line, and I can use a pen to mark the length of my stitches. And this way I don't have to worry about consistent lengths. It's already done for me. So here are my dots on my F. Okay, and we will start with embroidering a backstitch. You want to come up from the back of your fabric on the second dot, because as the backstitch implies, as its name implies, we are going to be going backwards. We're going to go back to the first stitch and then come up over here on the third dot, and I'm stitching right to left. And when I pull my thread, I don't want it to be too taut. We don't want any puckering. There's stitch number 1. Now I'm going to go back to right here at the end of that first stitch and come up on the dot just over here. And there's my second stitch, and I'm starting to outline the F. There we have the top of the F. Sorry, it's a little bumpy. It's hard to do this at an angle, it turns out, while being filmed. I am now going to put some more dots. Actually, let's finish this last back stitch. So we'll go back to that last stitch. Well, I'm not going to come up yet, because we're going to put some more dots on the F to keep our length consistent. Okay, so now I'm going to put some more dots using my template. I'm going to put them a little closer together to show you the difference in the look of the stitch when they are closer together. But again, this will keep your length consistent. You don't have to worry about that while you're learning a brand new stitch. I probably should have my granny glasses on while I'm doing this.
You have granny glasses?
I do, Hunter. Shall I get them?
Sure.
Let's show everyone granny glasses. I think they're in this hand stitching bag over here. Yes, here they are. Hunter didn't even know I had granny glasses.
When do you ever
that's a
wear
little
them?
better. I wear them mostly when I'm hand sewing, so that my lines don't look crooked like this. Let's see if we get any better. Hopefully. Okay. She can't keep her eyes off of me. She's enthralled with my granny glasses.
They're weird.
Okay, so we're going to go back to this previous stitch. And we're going to come up the dot that is past where I came up. We're just going to keep doing that. My stitches will be now a little smaller because my dots are closer together.
Cool. Yes. Woohoo.
So here we are at the end of our F. I'm just going to take one little back stitch here and stay on the back side of the fabric. So you'll notice along the side of the F, my stitches are pretty consistent because I had my dots. Now I'm on the back side of my fabric. I still have to do this part of the F here. So let's add some dots first. So now I can travel along the back. I don't have to knot this and rethread it. I can just travel along the back to this part of the F. I'll show you what's happening on the back. It's going to be one long stitch. This is where you have to make sure you don't pull it too hard so that it puckers. Let's see on the back. We've traveled from the end of the F up here, and now I can keep sewing continuously. Right, now we're just going to continue along this part of the F. Same technique. Not pulling too tightly, or stitches don't pucker. here we are at the end of the F. I'm going to take one more back stitch there and stay on the back of my fabric. Here's our lovely F. Look at that. Remember, fabric fondle. Now on the back, we've got to knot this so that the stitches don't come undone. And how I do that is I just anchor this thread to its neighbor stitches. So I'm just going to go underneath these stitches next to where I stopped and pull it so that there's a loop here. I'm going to go through that loop 2 or 3 times with my needle and then tug, 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 and it makes a knot right there, anchoring. So right here's my knot, and I can trim it just a little bit above the knot and trim this beginning tail since we're back here. And that's that. That should hold it. We've embroidered an F with the back stitch. Thank you for joining us on the Daily Fabric Fondle.